Okay, so the most common question I get right after, would you like this free piece of gear? No, I would not. Stop offering. If I ever take free gear from the community, I will kill myself. Second most common question I get is, hey, do you have a comprehensive summons on guide? Fuck. Okay, so yes, I do, I guess, over several different videos. Here, we will go over a full rundown breakdown of how Summon Strafe Zon works and the ways you can build it. So how do they do these guides again? Stats. We'll start there, right? So stats, just enough to use your gear. Strength. Awesome. Everyone knows that, right? So Dex Vitality, that's the split. So Dexterity got a big nerf a couple seasons back when it's the Dex scaling was reduced, making it not as useful as a dump skill. So now you have the option of choosing Vitality as your main skill you want to go for, right? So I'll break this into 3 tiers. You can either go for 1100 life, 1300 life, or 1500 life, and it depends on what you want to do. If you want to go super, super fast and you're interested in getting your map clearing speed into that 7-minute range, maybe even 6:30, whatever it is, you're going to need a teleport staff. And that's going to be super important because the Zon just doesn't have the best mobility. She is super fast and zoomy if you build her like that, which I've done to speed my clear speed up just a bit, but a teleport staff is probably going to be your best way to go until you can get a bunch of faster run walk charms or get it on your gear. So if you want to build it with 1100 life, it should be around, what, 200 vitality, I think, or something like that. That'll prevent you from getting one shot by most things, but it's not the safest. 1300's the nice sweet spot, and 1500's for people who are really planning on doing a lot of Uber and maybe even declone focused stuff. I know this can do declone, though I don't do it because it's probably annoying as hell. But beyond that, you can use, obviously, your CTA to bump up any life that you put in. The rest of it goes into Dex. It's just a matter of whether do you want to have the super fast, super, risky clear speed type build with all the Dex dumped into it. We'll go for 1100 life and use the teleport staff. If you want the super tanky version, go for 1500 life total with the call to arms and ignore the teleport staff. Just up to you. That's sort of the cool thing about this class. So, skills. There are 3 you're always going to max. It is going to be Decoy, Valkyrie, and Strafe. So the reason for that is all of these play off each other. You're really ramping up your Decoy damage and your Valkyrie damage. Valkyrie and Decoy are a synergy of each other. Strafe is a synergy of Decoy. Cool. What do I do with the rest of my skills? Well, if you're planning on doing a lot of damage, go with Penetrate, because that buffs your Strafe damage, as you can see there. A couple points in critical and pierce, I think 5 each, gets you to around 50%, and those things apply to your decoys and your Valkyries. I've gone very minimal on this build, so I only have 23% crit for my guys. I have 58 because of the passive skillers. You can also dump points into Power Strike if you really want to get your Valkyries up, though when I tested that on beta, it wasn't too good, and I stayed away from it. But other people have said it's fine, and, well, that's up to you. Try it out. So those are your skills sets, and let's go over the ways you can gear this. I'll show you my build first, which is the Demon Machine Disciple build. I think this is the best way to run it. A Giant Skull is almost always your best in slot option for Damage Helm, though anything really works here. G-Face with multiple sockets, Veil of Steel if you want to spend the strength on that. Valkelm with 3 sockets is still good damage, and you would use that for a skills-based class anyway. I use the Disciple set. If you're going to use this style, 3 open sockets is the way to go. You need 104 ED and max damage, min damage jewels to really get this thing pumping, and the rest of it's just the Disciple set, ED on the gloves, and I have Castrate, Leech rings, Res rings, max damage on the rings. And bolts again, they're there to round off your class, whatever you need. Skills, damage, run walk, deadly strike, strength, I mean, all good stuff, right? If you're going for your damage, max damage charms are probably going to be the best bet, and I keep enough passive magic skillers just to make sure that I have level 30 minimum on my Valks and everything else. Let's go over a hybrid version. Remember, this is very damaged focused. This is more of a Strafe Zon. And then we'll go over my Season 4 one, which is a hybrid. And again, you can build these different ways. It's perfectly fine. I went with Demon Machine again this season. Since I'm a hybrid, I went with Fortitude, and that's got Castrate ED on it. That's really your best in slot option. I think whether you're... I mean, if you want to go full skills, go for it and use a piece, which we'll go over in a second. But Fortitude is a general good option. This one I had Ondals because I was testing it out with Weaken. You don't need to do that at all. I have a High Lord. You can also switch out this for an Atmas. Like if you want to put on a Valk Wing or the Giant Skull here and put on an Atmas, preferably with a Cast Rate Corruption or a 1-to-all skills, I guess. Also good. Again, hybrid. I don't have skills on the bolts here. Boots, again, hybrid style. We're talking, I mean, anything really. I mean, War Travelers are great for the added damage, so are Gores. Castrate Rings, again. Arachnid Mesh, because again, this is a hybrid. Just because skills and castrate, I'm sort of splitting between my damage and the decoys on this build. And same thing here. Decoys, castrate, res. This one I went with all passive magic skillers. So instead of having level, 31 decoys, on this one I have, 38 when I actually spawn them with all of my stuff on, right? This is a build that was in the pluggy. I think the guy's name is here. Yeah, Thick Sticker. So you can see how he does this here. Forward all skills because it's on a Gorgon crossbow, or sorry, a Pus Spitter. Not the best damaging weapon in the world, but again, forward all skills, does some damage, procs lower res, it's good. Also, don't forget that you can use almost any weapon on this class. It's sort of like Bozon from Season 2. Any weapon does well. On the screen here, you're going to see my ranking of my personal ranking of the weapons based on, cost, effectiveness, and how annoying they are. Like the Wrathbow, which I find unusable because of the sound on it. But you can use any weapon here, guys. It's just a matter of, do I want damage, or do I want skills, or do I want a combination of both? He went with a piece for the extra Valkyrie on this rune ward. It's very cheap, very effective. Skills, Valkhelm, massive skills, massive skills, massive skills, massive skills. Castrate a little bit, skills. You get the point here. You're just bumping your skills as high as they can go with anything you can get. That gets you to level 53 decoys on this build, and that is a lot of damage. Mercenaries, we'll start going over those too. You've seen, so if you're going damage, just it's simple. It's just build it like a Boazon. If you're going hybrid, find a mix of damage, castrate, and skills. And if you're going for all summons, as many plus skills and castrate as you can get. You can mix and match this gear as much as you want. These are all just examples. Mercenaries, you can go with the Act 1 Merc with a Faith and a Templar's Might, like Sticker is done here. This is perfectly fine. The extra added run walk speed from the Vigor Aura is really underrated because that's what this class struggles with. But this is a decent option. Remember, the Fanaticism doesn't really help you because your breakpoints are so low for most crossbows, but it does definitely help out your decoys a bunch. Let's see. Oop. We'll go back to this. You can, while I'm talking, getting back into this, you can use an Act 2 Merc with same thing, Templar's Might, and probably a Conch Aura weapon, whatever that rune word is. I forget what it is. And that's fine. You can also use the Act 5 with Might and a Beast. You can put amp damage stuff on your mercs. That's fine. In my experience, you're clearing so quickly with this that there's no point in having the amp damage on there. It just doesn't work that well. Thanks, Wappinator. I appreciate you jumping in here. Okay, so when you're playing this class, one of the things you want to do is get into a good position to strafe, even if your decoys are doing most of the damage. As you can see, if I kind of sit in the middle and start to spray around, it does take a hot minute because you're spinning 360 degrees trying to hit everything in the area. If you use your decoys, however, to position people and gather them up, it's much easier to take that pack out, right? So even if your decoys are just there to be decoys, as sort of mine are, placing them around the map to actually get things to clump up is your best bet of clearing fast. And if they're obviously doing most of your damage and you went with the plus skills build, well, that's awesome, and you just want them out anyway. But either way, the playstyle remains the same. Drop a decoy, let everything clump up around it, and step up onto the decoy, because that's probably going to be your best bet of positioning. Your best bet to position correctly, I should say. Let's see if I can get a better example. I probably needed a juicier map, but you drop the decoy, let everything clump up around it, and then spray through it. And that's your most effective clearing method. Can you Uber with the summons on? Yes, absolutely. So the only method, or the best method for doing this is using your decoys to essentially take out all of the big attacks that the Ubers will do. The decoys, for some reason, are just the most aggro-intensive thing in the game, so no matter where you place them, the Ubers are going to key onto them and spray all their big attacks at them. Now, they're going to melt them, depending on what level you have them at, pretty quickly, but if you just keep spawning them and bring enough mana pots, you can just lock them into place like I'm doing here with Diablo. Try to get your Valkyries to hit them from behind, whichever boss that is. Meth will shred through them and it's not really worth spawning them, but they are extra damage, and if you get lost like I just did in this video, just reposition, get your Valkyries back up, and then put the decoys the opposite side of the Valkyries, like I have failed to do here, but I should have put them on the right side of Diablo, and you can essentially get the Valkyries hitting him from behind while he sprays off at the decoy. Same thing works for Bale. Meth, just spawn the decoys around him because the Valkyries will get eaten alive pretty quickly from the poison damage and go to town on him. But yeah, it's incredibly safe for Ubers, incredibly easy, though it's not the fastest in the world, but once you get the style down, you are the tank for the group, and you can obviously do it solo as well. When we run this, I mean, people barely use any health potions because everyone's too focused on the decoys to actually do anything about it. So there are 3 choices you need to make when you're playing Summons On. One is how much life do I want? Then you're going to choose your style, which is either going to be Strafe Heavy, where you max penetrate, hybrid, or where you're going to go pure summons, where you're going to want to get power strike and pierce and critical strike up as much as you can to buff all of your stuff. Then you have to make a choice on which mercenary you're going to use, because that's going to affect the rest of your gearing. The Act 1 mercs have the Vigor aura, so having all these faster run walk charms that I have. I think I got a few here. In fact, I have faster run walk evade on mine just to bump up the run walk even more. You don't need to do that with the Act 1 merc. The Act 2 merc really gives you, I guess, defensive buffs. I mean, you really wouldn't run, you have enough attack rating, you wouldn't run the attack rating one. And then the Act 5 merc, if you're doing that, then you have to prioritize run walk to get going. The Act 5 merc brings the benefit of dealing with physical immunes, while the other ones not so much. So those are the choices I think that you got to make. I've gone over a gear type for each style of build. I've gone over the best weapons again. We've gone over skills. We've gone over stats, mercenaries, and can it Uber. I hope that answers all of the things that I could possibly get asked about Summons On. So if anyone tells me, hey, how do I build this? I'm going to link you this video, watch it in its entirety, and this should cover just about anything that you want to know about the 3 styles of Summon Strafes On for Season 5. Later.